What if the greatest engineering feats in human history belonged to people we were taught to call primitive? 12 structures still stand across the globe that modern science cannot fully explain, rebuild, or match. Stones heavier than any crane can lift. Cities carved into rock, and cities sunk beneath it. By the end, one site holds a secret dangerous enough to challenge when civilization itself began. Number 12. Stonehenge. In 2019, geologists confirmed the exact quarry origin of the smaller bluestones at Stonehenge. Craig Rose y Feline, a rocky outcrop in the hills of West Wales, roughly 150 miles from the monument itself. Neolithic Britain had no wheels suited to hauling multi-ton stone, no roads, no draft animal bred for such a load. Between the quarry and Salisbury Plain sit rivers, marshland, and steep, uneven ground that would strain a modern haulage crew. For decades, one theory offered an escape hatch. Glaciers, not people, carried the stones most of the way, leaving only a short final push for human hands. The 2019 excavation closed that door for good. The quarry face showed deliberate extraction. Stone wedges still lodged in the rock, platforms cut for leverage, tool marks that could only come from people working the stone on purpose. By raft, perhaps, by sledge, or log rollers, or some combination lost entirely to time. Nobody has fully reconstructed the method, and the distance alone makes every proposed answer feel incomplete. Moving a stone across a country is one kind of impossible. The next site needed no transport at all, and it may be the more difficult problem. Number 11. Great Zimbabwe. Southeast Africa, roughly the 11th century. A city rose from granite, its walls curving for hundreds of meters, without a single trace of mortar. When European colonial administrators encountered the ruins centuries later, they refused to credit the region's own history with the achievement. Foreign builders, they insisted, must have raised these walls. Phoenicians, Arabs, almost anyone but the people who actually lived there. That theory held for decades, propped up more by prejudice than evidence. Archaeology eventually dismantled it. Pottery, artifacts, and construction technique all trace the walls directly to the ancestors of the Shona people, using a method called coursed dry stone construction. Each granite block was shaped and laid with enough precision that friction alone holds the structure together, some walls curving under real structural tension, without a single crack, forming across 8 centuries. Modern dry stone builders admit the technique is difficult to replicate at this scale even today, with tools great Zimbabwe's masons never had. The wall raises a question that has nothing to do with engineering, and everything to do with why it took so long to ask it honestly. Now move from a stone that stayed still for centuries to a stone that may still be walking. Number 10. Ollantaytambo. High above the Sacred Valley in Peru sits an unfinished quarry. Enormous stone blocks, some weighing over 50 tons, lie scattered along the mountainside, seemingly abandoned mid-transport toward the temple site below. The path from quarry to temple crosses a river valley with no clear ramp, no obvious road, and a vertical drop that modern engineers still study for lack of a straightforward answer. Locals call the scattered blocks piedras cansadas, the tired stones, as if they simply gave up partway through the journey. At the temple itself, 6 massive stone slabs stand fitted together with the same hallmark precision found elsewhere across Inca sites, seams so tight that no blade will slide between them. Something interrupted the work. Whether it was the arrival of the Spanish, a shift in labor, or something else entirely? Nobody knows. What the site does confirm is that whatever method moved these stones partway up a mountain was abandoned before anyone thought to record it. From stone dragged across mountains, the next stop moves to stone floated across the open ocean. Number 9. Nan Madol. Off the coast of Pohnpei, in Micronesia, sits a city built on an artificial reef, nearly 100 small islets constructed from massive columns of black basalt, stacked like enormous logs. Each column can weigh up to 50 tons. The nearest quarry sits miles away, across open water, and no evidence of a seafaring vessel from that era has ever been found capable of hauling that kind of cargo. Local oral history offers its own answer. Twin sorcerer kings, who levitated the stones into place using magic. Modern archaeology treats that account as legend rather than method, but the honest position is that no alternative explanation has fully closed the gap either. Rafts lashed together, tidal timing, some combination of both, all proposed, none confirmed. What is confirmed is the engineering result itself, a city built on water that has withstood tropical storms and rising seas for roughly 1,000 years. Water carried this mystery. The next one required going the opposite direction, straight down into solid rock. Number 8. Longyu Caves. In 1992, villagers in China's Zhejiang province drained a pond they had always assumed was bottomless. Beneath the water sat a network of vast man-made caverns, chiseled from solid siltstone, undocumented in any surviving text. No dynasty claims them. No local legend explains them. And yet the scale implies an organized labor force working over years, if not decades, moving an estimated volume of excavated stone that would rival some of history's largest known construction projects. Every chisel mark across every cave follows the same angle and spacing, evenly parallel, as if applied by a single standardized method, taught and repeated across a large workforce. That level of consistency, without a single surviving record of who ordered it or why, is what troubles researchers more than the excavation itself. A missing history is one kind of mystery. The next site has a known builder, a known king, and an engineering feat that still works exactly as designed. Number 7. Sigiriya. In the 5th century, King Kashyapa of Sri Lanka seized the throne and, fearing retaliation from his exiled brother, built a fortress unlike anything else in the region, a palace on top of a 200-meter granite rock. 7 years, 20,000 workers, and a summit garden that needed water it had no natural way of reaching. Getting water 200 meters up a sheer rock face without a single pump should not have been possible with the tools available at the time. It worked anyway. Sigiriya's builders used a closed system of clay pipes and staged reservoirs, each level building pressure for the next rise, the same principle now called communicating vessels. Europe would not formalize this hydraulic concept for another 1,000 years. The fountains at the base of the rock still function today, without repair, in the rainy season. Find a modern pipeline that lasts 15 centuries without maintenance, and you will still be looking. And the deeper this list goes, the stranger the pattern becomes. Not isolated genius, but repeated, independent mastery of problems. Modern infrastructure still struggles to solve permanently. The next site solved a different problem: how to disappear an entire city underground. Number 6. Derinkuyu. Central Anatolia, in what is now Turkey, hides 18 underground floors descending roughly 85 meters. built to shelter as many as 20,000 people, along with their livestock and grain stores. Anyway, before going further underground, there is something worth pointing out about the 6 structures already covered. Every one of them still stands, largely unrepaired, in regions exposed to the same forces that should have destroyed them centuries ago. That staying power is the actual thread this channel keeps pulling on, one structure at a time. Every level of Derinkuyu could be sealed independently using a rolling stone door, weighing close to half a ton, moved along a carved groove, impossible to force open from the outside. Ventilation shafts run the entire depth in a near-perfect vertical line, drilled through solid rock with no laser level, no satellite reference, nothing but candlelight, and, presumably, an extraordinary amount of trial and error. At the lowest level, archaeologists found an underground river, giving the city its own water source, independent of anything above ground. This was not a shelter built for a single siege. It was infrastructure designed for a population to live below the surface for months at a time, sealed floor by floor if needed. So the obvious question sits there, unanswered. How do you drill straight for 85 meters in the dark and never lose direction? An underground city solved the problem of disappearing. The next fortress solved the problem of never falling, no matter what tried to break it. Number 5. Sacsayhuamán. Above Cusco, Peru, the Inca built fortress walls from limestone blocks, weighing up to 200 tons, some standing 9 meters tall. Every block carries a unique polygonal shape. Not one repeats another, and yet each fits its neighbors so tightly that no blade slides between the seams. When the Spanish took Cusco, they tore apart smaller Inca structures for building material. At Sacsayhuamán's lower walls, they gave up. The blocks were too large, too precisely interlocked, and the Spanish simply lacked any method to pull them apart. Modern structural analysis eventually explained part of the wall's durability. The inward lean and irregular zigzagging block pattern distribute seismic force rather than resist it directly, a design principle formalized by engineers only in the 20th century. Cusco has weathered dozens of major earthquakes since the wall was built. Spanish cathedrals constructed nearby, using stone pulled from other Inca sites, have collapsed and been rebuilt more than once. Sacsayhuamán has not moved, which raises a genuinely uncomfortable question. How does a civilization without metal tools or written engineering formulas outbuild the earthquake resistance of structures raised centuries later with far more advanced materials? Stone that survives earthquakes is one kind of mastery. The next site mastered stone that modern tools still struggle to cut at all. Number 4. Pumapunku. At nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, near Lake Titicaca in Bolivia, sit the scattered ruins of Pumapunku. Its blocks are carved from andesite, one of the hardest volcanic stones on Earth, shaped with 90-degree angles, uniformly spaced drilled holes, and surfaces polished to a near-glass finish. The builders had no wheel, no iron or bronze tools capable of cutting andesite, and worked in air thin enough to make sustained physical labor genuinely difficult. One researcher attempted to replicate a small section of the carved pattern using only stone hammers. It took her 40 hours to complete an area the size of a human palm. Pumapunku contains hundreds of blocks carved on every face. Metal residue found in grooves cut into several blocks confirms something stranger still. Molten metal was poured on site to form structural clamps, meaning the builders maintained furnaces hot enough to melt metal at an altitude where oxygen alone makes fire difficult to sustain. Precision tooling without metal tools is one kind of contradiction. The next site does not challenge how ancient people built. It challenges whether they existed at all. Number 3. Göbekli Tepe. In southeastern Turkey, monumental carved stone pillars, some arranged in circles and etched with detailed animal reliefs, have been dated to roughly 11,600 years ago. That places Göbekli Tepe about 6,000 years before Stonehenge, and long before the accepted timeline for the invention of agriculture, pottery, or the wheel. Conventional history places monument building after farming. Settle first, then build. Göbekli Tepe inverts that order entirely. Hunter-gatherer groups, according to the current evidence, organized enough labor and social structure to quarry, carve, and erect stone pillars, weighing several tons apiece, without permanent settlements, before agriculture existed to support one. That single fact has forced a slow, ongoing rewrite of how archaeologists model the rise of civilization, suggesting that complex belief systems and social coordination came first, and farming followed as a consequence rather than a cause. If the order of civilization itself can be wrong by 6,000 years, the next site asks how much further that number might actually stretch. Number 2. Baalbek. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, Roman builders raised the Temple of Jupiter atop a foundation far older than Rome. At its base sit 3 trilithon stones, each roughly 19 meters long and weighing close to 800 tons, lifted and set with seams between them, nearly invisible to the eye. In the quarry beside the temple lies a 4th block, discovered by the German Archaeological Institute in 2014, and now called the Forgotten Stone. Its weight is estimated at 1,650 tons, among the heaviest single stones ever cut by human hands, roughly the weight of a space shuttle at launch. No wooden roller system could support that load without collapsing instantly. One engineer calculated that moving a stone this size using known ancient methods would require tens of thousands of workers stationed around a single block. A physical impossibility, given the stone's size and the space around it. Stone cutting technique at the base of the temple differs from confirmed Roman methods elsewhere in the region, leading some researchers to argue the foundation predates Rome by a significant margin. If that is correct, Baalbek's builders remain unidentified, and their reason for cutting a stone they may never have intended to move stays just as unclear. The final site does not ask how a stone got somewhere. It asks whether civilization itself started earlier than anyone has been willing to admit. Number 1. Gunung Padang. For centuries, local communities on the Indonesian island of Java treated Gunung Padang as a natural hill, a quiet place to pray near stone terraces at its summit. In 2010, geologists ran ground-penetrating radar across the site and found something the hill was never supposed to contain. Beneath the surface soil sat a massive, layered man-made structure, chambers, voids, and dense stone construction, extending far deeper than the visible terraces above. Radiocarbon analysis of organic material recovered between stones at a depth of 30 meters returned an age of approximately 20,000 years, placing the lower structure firmly within the last ice age, roughly 15,000 years before the first Egyptian pyramid. The findings were published in the peer-reviewed journal Archaeological Prospection in 2023, and the response split the scientific community cleanly in two. Critics argue the dated organic material may simply be natural sediment unrelated to construction. The original research team maintains that the samples were recovered from between clearly worked stone layers at depths where accidental contamination becomes difficult to explain. The dispute remains unresolved, and that is how research is supposed to work. But if the dating holds, organized monumental construction began roughly 10,000 years earlier than any textbook currently states, in an era typically described as small bands of hunter-gatherers with no capacity for large-scale engineering. 12 structures, fountains still running after 15 centuries without repair. A wall that has outlasted every earthquake sent against it. A stone heavier than any machine built to lift it. A city with 18 floors dug straight down into rock. And a hillside that may be old enough to break the entire timeline of human civilization. Each of these, taken alone, raises its own narrow question. Taken together, the question changes shape entirely. Not how they built what they built, but how much of what they knew never made it into any book at all.